Week 1, Wednesday. Dust that dreams. Psalm 103, verses 1 and 14 to 18. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. For he knows how we are made. He remembers that we are dust. As for mortals, their days are like grass. They flourish like a flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it is gone, and its place knows it no more. But the steadfast love of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. As the words were spoken over me, a thumb firmly smeared an oily mixture of ash and dirt on my forehead, making a sign of the cross. It was Ash Wednesday, and I had been to church. On the way home from the service, I stopped for some chips. The young shop assistant looked curiously at me several times before her face suddenly lit up with recognition. "Oh, you've been to church," she exclaimed. My forehead, I'd forgotten. That morning at school, she had learned about Ash Wednesday, what ashing is, how it is done, and why Christians do it. Like many ancient faith communities, Christians used the ritual action of smearing or covering with dust and ashes to express visibly some core beliefs about human life and faith. As I left with my chips, I caught my reflection in the shop window. It was a very large smudge. What am I called to remember under this strange sign? Here's a few things. Dust reminds me of my origins. The name of the first human being in the Bible, Adam, comes from the Hebrew word Adama, meaning earth. I am formed from the dust of the earth. We know now what the psalmist did not, that the dust of earthly life is a gift of the entire universe. Every atom in my body was forged in the explosive furnaces of the furthest stars. This humbles me. But humility is not self-negation. True humility creates a space for wonder. I can learn from the rabbi, who always carried 2 pieces of paper in his pockets. One told him he was dust and ashes. The other told him that for him the whole universe was made. Second point. Dust reminds me of my mortality. What began as dust will return to dust. Like the grass of the fields and flowers in my garden, my life is a brief passing thing. It may be that our perennial capacity for messing up, our misguided priorities, our presumptions and assumptions about who we are, all lie in an unwillingness to live with this truth. This reminder brings me down to earth. Third point. Covering with dust was an ancient way of expressing penitence and sorrow for sin. Under this sign of dust, I acknowledge my waywardness and willfulness. I commit myself afresh to self-examination of life, motives, values, and priorities. I repent of my sins. Having done all this, I remain dust. What may I hope for? Who makes anything of dust? Only God. He knows, he remembers that we are but dust, says the psalmist. This does not seem to frustrate God, quite the reverse. We inspire him, it seems. After all, he chose dust to be the prime ingredient for his crowning work in creation, a creature who bears his image. Shaped out of barren ground, the first creature of dust became a living being when God breathed into his nostrils. So here I am, a dust creature, yet alive in the very breath of God's own being. My life is not my own. It is given to me, a gift of the most personal and intimate kind. Dust creature I may be, but I am part of something much greater. An improbable story of life, wonder, and mystery stirs in me. It is renewed in me with every breath I take. So I am restless dust. I am dust that prays and hopes. I am dust with dreams of glory, of a life that is not my own, and that I have barely begun to imagine. I will remember I am a creature of the earth, but I will also attend to what I find written there in the dust of my nature. They are words of life, of love, of transformation. Dust I may be, but I am desired dust. Improbably, wonderfully, I am dust with a destiny. before I get to the reflection, I'm just reminded of His Dark Materials, the Philip Pullman fantasy series, and the discussion of dust in that. Dust in those novels equates to sin, and the equivalent of the church in those worlds is trying to stamp out sin, and therefore they're trying to stamp out the dust. It's not quite the same allegory or metaphor in here. Dust is what we actually are. It's neither neutral, it's neither positive or negative, it's a neutral thing to which God breathes His life and His goodness, but it can also be corrupted by the devil. So, yeah, bear in mind what dust means to you. And reflect on this. Find a dusty surface, apart from yourself, and write a prayer with your finger in the dust. If you were to return later and find that God has written a reply there, what might it be? Have a think. See you tomorrow.